Sorry, we're closed.
Welcome back. Another episode. Sorry we're closed. And I think we have a great show for them, folks. I loved the. Did you read the? I know you did read the. Do you recall the conspiracy theory we got going right now?
I'm very prepared.
Very prepared. Sean's very prepared. Love that. But before we get into that, a little bit of topical news. Since Vegas, people have found a newfound respect for old Patty Westside and his business acumen. And recently on the Carrabba's Pod, the other podcast that I do with Jared and the guys over at I guess it's still called the Carrabba's Pod because Dave Portnoy continues to hold the Section 10 name hostage. We made a joke recently about buying the Angels because we believed, and we actually talked about it on this show, Sean, we believed that the Angels should, I think we had a debate on whether or not they should sell off everyone. Mm-hmm. I think they did. I actually think you took the opposite approach, that they shouldn't sell off Ohtani, I think we said. But
I agree with myself.
Yes, but so we had that similar debate on that show, and we decided that I was going to purchase the Angels, and Jared was going to be the general manager and trade Shohei and Mike Trout to the Red Sox. Including already happening. But funny enough, a couple weeks later, and what we've seen recently in a Jeff Passan tweet is that the Angels are now up for sale, and they're exploring that option. After 2 decades of owning. I think it's the Moreno family. Art Moreno does not any longer wish to go after his World Series dreams. So he's selling. It is interesting how it happens to be this team after what we just spoke about. But naturally, my Twitter has been I have never been tagged this much, Sean, in a Instagram post. I try to not use the word flooded, but I was flooded with tags on this Instagram post with Major League Baseball talking about them being sold. And now, interestingly enough, I've actually made serious inquiries on how to approach this as a possibility. Now, because Sean, you're also a businessman. You understand acquisitions. You understand how these types of deals end up going down. I want to first, because it just came up on Twitter this morning, I want to first kind of talk to people how something like this might happen. Most people, well, not most people, there's a few people out there that think there's no way Pat has this kind of money. The response
that would be correct.
That is correct. I do not have $2 billion that people think that this is going to go for. In these acquisitions, it's oftentimes, and not oftentimes. Well, I guess it may not be oftentimes. I don't know if Steve Cohen brought anyone on. He had fuck you money, but it's oftentimes, and in most cases, a sports group that goes in. Even John Henry of the Red Sox. John Henry's got Fenway Sports Group, which LeBron James is now a member of, as of a couple years ago. So keep in mind, anyone can go for a sports team, but you just have to have the financial backing to do so. And whether or not I have that money to do it, I might have people in my network that want to own a sports team.
A-Rod and his group just bought the Timberwolves.
Yes, and I believe, actually, funny enough, you mentioned that. Isn't the owner or the founder of Jet.com one of his financial backers?
I don't know.
So I'm pretty sure I heard that. I heard it through the grapevine in my own network that they are. And Jet.com, a Hoboken company, is it not?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
correct.
Hoboken company. They, for those of you who do not know Jet.com, and Sean, correct me if I'm wrong, isn't it the distributing service for Walmart?
Yep.
Okay. So what I wanted, and this is what I wanted to talk to Sean a little bit about, obviously we're going to get into some fun things about owning a team, and so you guys know, Angels, as you're listening to this, the Angels are not the only team that I've inquired about because they're not the only team for sale. But, going through this acquisition process of doing these things, and I've reached out to our good friend Scott Boras, Sean, to think about and talk about what his thought process is. What I've learned is they have like these firms that are like the gatekeepers to this. And now you go to these firms, they do extensive background checks. They look into your finances and anyone you're bringing in's finances, and they either give their stamp of approval and they let you move on to the next round, which is actually talking to the owners of the club, or they say go fuck yourself and you're not talking to the owners of the club.
Huh.
Which is interesting because in all my restaurant deals, like obviously they're much small. We're buying a couple $1 million places. We're not buying $2 billion places. But obviously you go directly to the owner. I don't have a search firm that I have to go through first.
Right.
So it's interesting to see, and I know both of this is kind of both. I mean, I'm an acquisition guy. Sean, I guess you're not really an acquisition guy.
I'm a sales guy.
But it is interesting to see when you get to a certain level how there are gatekeepers to being able to get there. It's not just like, like me, I like to schmooze and get my network out there.
Well, interestingly, you probably don't know this, and I didn't know this I've never heard of this, and I don't know even what I saw. It was ESPN, like little E60 or something, on the New York Islanders. Do you know where I'm going with this?
No, I do not. Not as of right now.
So, not that long ago, in the 2000s somewhere, somebody faked their way to buying the Islanders. And to the tune of this guy was making like $30K a year. And he faked his way to buying the Islanders. And he was the owner of the Islanders. Like, he just lied all the way through. And then eventually, like, it came to pass, like people's salaries were due, and this guy had $0 to pay anybody anything. And I don't know how this really got swept under the rug that much, or maybe just because I don't pay attention to hockey. But and I wish it just dawned on me. I wish I looked it up a little bit prior if I had thought of this, but. Yeah, somebody faked buying the Islanders, and then I'm sure that sent shockwaves through all of the professional sport levels as to the reality of that. And something that I've always been a proponent of is if you act like you've got it under control, most people are just going to believe you. And like, who would lie about that, right? But that's interesting. So in terms of all of the security that goes into it. There's a good reason why.
So this is why I love podcasting, because while you're talking, I get to look it up. So John Spano.
That's it.
John Spano in America. So I'm reading his Wikipedia page, and I'll just read the first paragraph real quick. It's only a couple sentences. John Angelo Spano Jr. is an American businessman and admitted fraudster. He is best known for briefly buying control of the New York Islanders franchise of the National Hockey League in 1996 before it emerged that he did not have nearly enough assets to buy the team. He subsequently pleaded guilty to bank and wire fraud and served a federal prison sentence. Wow.
Yeah, that's great. That's insane. I mean, the cojones on this guy to do that. I thought the biggest cojones in sports was the guy who faked his commitment to Cal and held a press conference in his high school gym and did the hats and everything, and then they interviewed the Cal coach. He's like, "Wait, who committed? I've never heard of this person." And I thought that was the biggest cojones in sports. This is that times a zillion. I think it was something like he was like, they kept asking him for like his down payment on the team, and they were like 12 games into the season, and he's just like, Kevin Hart, the way my bank account's set up, I got the checkings and the savings. I don't know.
So interesting. Well, listen, this is actually kind of interesting. This is how he was revealed as a swindler. When the NHL's Board of Governors met in June 1997, Spano was not present. With the Islanders representatives being the two men from the Pickett regime. So I guess the Pickett and Bennett were initially confident about Spano. So I guess Pickett was the guy who originally owned it. I'm not really sure. Upon further investigation, it emerged that Spano had only paid a total of $26,200 to Pickett for the cable rights after 5 attempts. On one attempt,
$26K. 26K.
Yes. On one attempt, he wired Pickett only $5,000. Get this, Sean. I want you to listen to what I'm about to just tell you. What I'm about to tell you. I'm going to repeat this. On one attempt, he wired Pickett $5,000 instead of what was originally agreed upon number of $5 million.
Guaranteed. He was just like, oh, I missed it. I must have missed. Oh, I guess that's
3 zeros.
Zero. Yeah, I missed a couple zeros there.
Yep.
It must have just auto-corrected.
On
in
another,
1996.
Yeah, on another, a $17 million check had bounced. On another, he sent $1,700, which was supposed to be $17 million. At the request of Pickett, Bettman, who's another character in this all, ordered Spano to remove himself from day-to-day control of the Islanders and not use any of the team's assets until dispute could be settled.
I think he was like forging like bank statements and stuff too. I can't say for sure. I feel like I remember seeing that where he was like sending statements that like he issued and like doctored up, showing his assets were significantly more than they are.
Yeah, I got more here. Newsday, in early July, Newsday, acting on tips from anonymous Islanders executives that their new boss was worth significantly less than advertised, began investigating Spano's background. On July 9th, Newsday published a story that exposed Spano as a fraud that was not worth even a fraction of the money required to complete the Islanders' deal. Among other things, Newsday's investigation revealed he had grossly misrepresented his net worth. He was worth only $5 million. His Bison Group had 22 employees and assets of $3 million. He had lied about numerous items on his resume. For instance, he had claimed to have graduated from the exclusive prep school in Ohio, but had actually graduated from a small Catholic school in Ashtabula. His quote-unquote inherited wealth did not exist. Neither of his grandfathers had an estate valued more than $246,000.
Yeah, I don't understand that. I mean, that's a sick person.
It's a sick person.
Because you know you're going to get busted.
Sick person, but also, well, here's the thing. If you can, this is kind of what I try to tell people about some of the deals that I make, is when you're buying a profitable asset, if you can, the only real hurdle you have, there's 2 hurdles actually, but the only real initial hurdle you have is the down payment on whatever it is they're asking for. That is what you have to raise. So in these deals, unless you're Steve Cohen, in these deals, let's say a $2 billion organization, you're probably going to finance that deal. You're probably not going to put a group together that's going to put in $2 billion of cash. But let's say we're just going to go financing, right? And let's say for argument's sake, we're just going to do seller financing. So, Art and the Moreno family decide they want to be the bank in this situation. So they're going to seller finance this deal. So they say they want 20% down on this investment. $2 billion, 20% of $2 billion is $400 million. That is your initial hurdle. If you can cross that finish line, the business will pay the rest.
Yeah.
On a profitability scale. So that's really, to come up with $400 million. I'm talking in my world, like when you do restaurants, you have to come up with maybe $400,000. To come up with $400 million, different ball game. But, if you can cross that hurdle of getting that initial down payment, you don't have to be worth, like let's say I'm worth,
Yeah, nobody's swiping a credit card here.
No. Let's say I'm worth $10,000.
But the points on that would be spectacular.
Let's say I'm worth $10,000, and Sean's worth $20 billion. Sean might decide to be the silent investor. I don't want nothing to fucking do with this as far as a publicity thing. I want to own a team and be behind the scenes and make some money because I think it's a solid investment. But, I got a lot of skeletons in my closet and I want nothing to do with being the face of this organization. So, hey, Pat, can you be the face? Sure. So now Pat, as a guy who's worth $10,000, is going to go buy this team, but my group is worth many, many billions of dollars. But people would look into me and be like, how the fuck is this guy pulling this off? and it's because I have financial backing in my group to do so. So it's similar to we talk about Live Golf Tour, which I believe is on our show notes here to talk about today. But we'll talk about the Live Golf Tour. The Saudis are just the backers. It's not like they're not the guys running the operation, so to speak.
It's Greg Norman.
And I think that's why a lot of guys have gone over there, because people like Greg Norman. They for whatever reason they think he's a cool dude. They talk to a guy that's like-minded with them and say, hey, listen, you can make way more than I ever did when I was playing, and I was really fucking good. You guys are really good. Come make this much money over here. You deserve it. So it's interesting, but I wanted to clear that up for people on how exactly, because people are looking at me and saying, hey, listen, we get that your restaurants are doing well. You might have other things going on that we're not aware of. We do believe you might be a wealthy individual, but you can't be that wealthy, can you?
You know that Art Moreno bought the team for $183 million?
Talk about a good investment, my friend.
And it was like in 2003 or something like that.
Yeah, he
Like
20
it was
they said
not
20
that
years.
long
So
ago.
yeah, 20 years. So I guess it's 2002. He's been going as long as Green Rock's been going at it.
That's a crazy jump.
Supposedly, I was talking to Boris Corp last night, and supposedly he made his money in billboards. He apparently owns every billboard from San Francisco to San Diego. That's a lot of billboards. So
That is interesting. That's an interesting friggin' business.
So that's how he apparently made his money. Coincidentally, the other team that has popped up as a sale, which I guess is public. I wasn't going to announce this because I was getting it from Boris Corp, but I didn't know if it was publicized. Apparently, it has been. I just guess I missed it.
I heard it on SportsCenter this morning.
Okay, so the Nationals are looking apparently a little bit further along the process. The thing with the Nationals that's interesting, and which could give me an opportunity if I put together the right group as like a dark horse to get it, is they don't have the TV rights, which is a huge moneymaker, right, Sean?
It's the moneymaker.
Right? It's a huge, huge moneymaker. And then on top of it, supposedly, there is a ton of real estate. I've talked about this on other podcasts before. And when talking about player negotiations, when the players and Players Association goes up against the owners, I think something that people don't think about is that, like, apparently when the Nationals put this stadium, they put it in like a desolate area. And then they're big real estate people, and they went in and just made beautiful buildings in a beautiful area around it, and they own it all. And now
that's popular. They're doing that in Jacksonville with the Jaguars.
Makes sense. So what they're apparently saying now is the reason why they don't know exactly how much the Nationals are going to sell for is because they don't know. For one, the TV rights are not in it, which is usually a huge deal. And the second thing, if you remember Steve Cohen and what was the family, the Wilpons, they were fighting over TV rights at the end. But there is no TV rights in this deal because the Baltimore Orioles owner, the only way he'd sign off for them to come into his theoretical area was that he kept the TV rights. So he has their TV rights. And then people don't know if apparently a lot of that real estate is actually under the same corporate umbrella as the team. So people don't know if they're going to siphon that off and keep that, or if it's a combo deal, which would make the deal much more valuable. So we're not really sure there. But from a let's talk just basic business here for myself. That might put, if they weren't going to sell the real estate and they had no TV rights, it becomes much less of a lucrative deal. It becomes cheaper, and people, big time investors might now balk at that and rather go for another team because they want to make obviously a killing, and they might not. This might not be as attractive to those people. So a smaller time guy might have like a dark horse might have a little bit better chance. It might not be me, but the dark horse might have a chance to go grab that club because it's not as lucrative as all the other clubs are. So. Interestingly enough, guys, I never thought that I'd be having this conversation. I can tell you that my rep at Boris Corp said that this is the first time in his years of being an agent and representative of players that he's ever received this phone call. So he was not expecting to have this, which was a fun phone call to have. But moving on to our conspiracy theory of the day, which is interesting conspiracy theory, and I had no idea existed. Do you know this existed, Sean?
First time I saw it was when Miranda sent the email.
Yep. I knew that there was conspiracy theories as to why he was missing.
Yeah.
But I didn't know this was one of them. So, as everyone knows, Tom Brady absent from Bucks camp for a while. I heard that he had planned a vacation. I've heard a bunch of different things. This particular conspiracy theory comes from our producer, Miranda, and apparently there is a conspiracy theory going around that he will be on the show called Masked Singer. It's a show, if you're not familiar, it's a show that...
apparently it's super popular.
Is it?
Yeah, apparently it's a really fun show.
Oh, interesting. I had no idea. But okay, well, maybe you are familiar. But let's say you're not familiar like me and Sean. You apparently go on and you're dressed in this whole crazy thing in a huge mask and you sing, and then the judges have to guess, right? That's what it is?
Something like that.
Okay. So maybe there's probably more to it than just that. But that's my basic understanding of the show. Apparently the filming dates line up with his absence.
Mm-hmm.
And the interesting caveat, which I enjoyed, is that he just signed that big lucrative broadcasting deal with Fox.
Right.
The Masked Singer, also on Fox. And the thought that ties this all together is people believe that when he retired, he might have signed part of his deal was he had to appear on this show. And when he went back to the Bucks, he said, "This is an obligation I have that I've already signed my contract to sing on this show. I have to show up to it." And now the Bucks granted him his release for those however many days to go sing on the Masked Singer. What do you got on this, Sean?
Look, I am absolutely not on board with that conspiracy. I just can't imagine the Tom Brady, the ultimate competitor, has devoted 20 years, 30 years of his life, his entire life to playing football and like literally giving every ounce of him to the game of football. I cannot imagine him taking time out of training camp to go on to the Masked Singer and wear a costume and basically dress like a mascot and sing songs for people. I mean, I get it. It is interesting. The stuff that I've heard on the Pat McAfee show yesterday, they were kind of like throwing around the idea that, when he retired, there was something where there was some sort of event, maybe with Giselle's nationality or something like this. I might have this wrong, but what it sounded like to me was that there was some sort of event surrounding her nationality or religion or something like that happens during this time every year. And when he retired, they had to there was maybe they made a commitment to this thing, and it was a big commitment in terms of we're Tom Brady, we can't just go do this regular style, and that was potentially the reason for where he's just I really can't get out of this. I've kind of committed to this. If I'm going to come back, I just got to do this along the way. I just simply can't get on board with him in the Masked Singer. I can't. That's just way too off character.
You know what, Sean? I have to agree with you. I hadn't thought of that angle yet, but now that you mention it, it's hard for me to believe that when Tom Brady's going back to sign with the Buccaneers, he's not sitting there hey, and going to Fox. Fox $400 million contract, whatever the hell they gave him, certainly not contingent on his appearance on the Masked Singer.
Yeah, they're not holding his feet to the fire on that one.
No. So I have to agree with you, Sean. I just don't see. It's an interesting thought. Their pieces certainly tie together.
Cool. It's compelling.
Yep.
And if I'm Fox, I'd push that because now you get more people to watch The Masked Singer.
100%. It's compelling. Pieces tie together. But when it comes to a guy like Tom Brady, it's honestly, I will say, though, the one thing that the caveat here for this is that it is interesting that he even stepped away. So right then and there, it doesn't lend itself to the usual Tom Brady.
It is out of character. I'll give you that.
It's out of character for him. The character that we're basing our non-believing of this. I just believe that if he's going to step away, it's more important than the Masked Singer. So I would agree. I don't think this is probably what's going on, but it is an interesting thought. And again, it's compelling. It's compelling enough, and the dates line up. And listen, I guarantee you, people are watching The Masked Singer to see if they're is that Tom?
And I think Gronk was just on it or something like that. So now they're thinking.
It's certainly compelling, but I don't believe that this is what is going on in in Tom Brady's life. I don't believe that he's leaving Bucks training camp to go sing on a show dressed like a moron.
I very much agree.
Yeah, it's just not. There's something more important going on than that. But I bet you Tom Brady's getting a nice laugh out of it.
Yeah, definitely.
A nice laugh that he's on the Masked Singer, but. That's that. I mean, there's nothing much else to say. There's no way he's doing this. So, moving on from that. Sorry we're closed, Sean. Brought to you by friends over at WynnBET. WynnBET, bringing the excitement of Wynn Las Vegas to online sports betting. Whether you're a recreational player or a serious handicapper, WynnBET is your ticket to every exciting wager, from straight bets to parlays, teasers, and any exotic proposition wager you can dream up. Sign up today and use promo code XSWC1. And after placing your first $100 wager, you'll receive $100 to bet with. There is also a $50 casino bonus for those in New Jersey and Michigan as a first-time player. Again, the promo code is XSWC1. There's no better way to enjoy sports than with some extra winnings in your pocket to use for all your favorite bets. Betting is a team sport. Join the WynnBET team and bet with the best. Offer subject to change, terms and conditions at WynnBET.com. Must be 21 to participate. Only available in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Louisiana, Michigan, New York, New Jersey, Tennessee, and Virginia. Stay tuned also for later in the show, WynnBET odds segment, as we do every podcast. We will be picking some college football, and I think that's pretty much it. But we also talk a little bit of the Red Sox odds, because there's a less compelling proposition here. But I do want to go over it a little bit, because it did make me guess. Well, not guess. It did make me consider putting the money on the Red Sox. But, again, we'll get to that a little bit later. Diving into Red Sox-Yankees, Sean, as we always do, I'll start off here. And I know you didn't. I don't think you watched any Red Sox games this week, but, you know, it's frustrating right now being a Red Sox fan. You know, this team, and again, this is going to go into my WynnBET odds segment too, but this team just doesn't feel like it's built for the postseason.
Yeah, we're waning here. It's getting towards the end of the season here.
Ton of injuries.
This doesn't seem like it's going to happen.
No, a ton of injuries. The bullpen just doesn't feel like it's never a point, like I said on the Carabas pod, there's never a time there's never something that I can say, okay, this is something we have, right? Like usually in the past couple of years, it's been the hitting. There's nothing there that's like, we got this. This is something that we can rely on pretty much every game, that we're going to go out there and do this, right? So, I mean, like we dropped 10 runs the other day. We lose the Orioles by 5. They dropped 15. There's just nothing there that it's just like, well, let's see if we fucking win this one. You know, it's, you know, who knows? Is the pitching going to show up? Who knows? Is the hitting going to show up? Who knows? Is the bullpen going to show up? Who knows? It's just not, you know, could we sneak in? Of course. But it's at this point, it's pure luck. There's no excitement. I know a lot of Red Sox Nation, I saw Jared tweet about it. I saw Tyler Milliken tweet about it. You know, this is Tristan Cassis time, who's a big-time prospect. Huh?
They're too far back. 7 back now.
Yeah. The thing is, the only thing they have is that a lot of teams they're playing over the course of the next month and then change is all teams ahead of them in the wild card. So you start beating up on these teams, but you're just not going to beat up on them.
They're winning team. They're good teams too. They're not going to just. They'd have to go on and slaughter these teams. Yeah,
they have to go on a tear. So it's unlikely, but we're talking about Tristan Cassis time, who's a big time lefty power hitter. I think out of it's not Pawtucket now. It's
September call-ups here. Let's go.
See what happens, but. Moving on from them, because they're kind of frustrating to talk about, and I talk about them for 2 hours every third day, it feels like, because of the Cross Pod. So the Yankees, however, how many games did they just take from the Mets? I feel like I should have prepared for that.
They won 2. There was a 2-game series. They won both of them.
So they won both.
But they won both of them 4-2. And
they beat Scherzer. Did DeGrom not pitch?
I honestly don't know who pitched in the games. I'll pull it up now. I think, you know, personally, it feels like the Yankees are like not, they haven't like turned it around, but it feels like that they've stopped the skid. You know, like they're turning the ship now, and they haven't started going in the other direction yet, but it's happening. Let's see who we have. Let's see who pitched here. Scherzer lost game 1, and game 2 was, who do we have? Taijuan Walker.
Yeah,
I mean, this is 2 good W's. I think. Look, the Yankees are going to be fine, and as long as they're going to go play Oakland and the Angels now. I mean, perfect timing in the schedule there. Judge absolutely smoked number 48 last night. They're going to be all right. We'll get in the playoffs, see who the first round matchup is, and we'll start from there. I'm nervous about the Astros, but everybody else, I think we're good.
The one thing that's interesting about the Yankees' remainder of the schedule, with the exception of a few teams, they play all pretty much playoff teams. Once you get past the A's here, who are certainly not a playoff team, and then they have the Angels, also not a playoff team. But you go into the Rays, that's going to be a tough series. You go to the Twins, that's going to be a tough series. You go back to the Rays, that's a tough series. You go play the dog shit Red Sox, get a little break there. Then you play the Brewers, that's a tough series. Pirates should be easy for you. Back to the Red Sox, then to the Blue Jays, then to the Orioles. Rangers suck, and that's how you end your regular season. So they don't have an easy road ahead by any stretch of the imagination, but they're still the Yankees. And what I would say, to your point, Sean, it does feel as though this series, they were skidding for a while. They were sliding. And with what they did against this Mets team, beating a Max Scherzer, that's what you don't want to see. I remember when they were showing a clip of the next three pitchers. I can't remember who it was, but I know Scherzer and DeGrom were the back end of it. And it's Manoah from Toronto.
Yeah.
And it was like, geez, man, this is exactly what you don't want to see with this team that's sliding right now. They were only, at one point, I think the Rays were 5 or 6 back, and they're going to play them a bunch. You could see the Rays taking over that division.
They're bound to come back. Of course you want to
keep. It's a month of terrible baseball.
No, I know, but I mean, they're a good team. They're not going to keep. I mean, it's just like you're talking like the ultimate collapse in Major League Baseball history if that were to happen. So, I mean, it's been a nasty slide, but I don't think anybody thought that they were going to be gone for a while. Stanton's coming back now. I think this is predictable. Like, let's see how aggressively they turn it around now. I think that's like the next barometer, at least in my eyes.
Yeah, I would agree with you, but I think that if there's ever a series to go do this in, it's in the Subway Series. If there's ever a series to turn around a sliding Yankee team and kind of, almost like, I hate to say this because I'm a Red Sox fan, but the thing that came to mind was like the scene from Pearl Harbor where the Japanese admiral says, like, I'm fearful that we just awoken a giant. And he certainly did because they ended up dropping nukes. But it's very... sometimes it could feel like that if you were to turn around, like if you looked at Judge's home run last night, the place was mobbed.
Yeah,
like it was playoff atmosphere. It was a possible World Series preview. Like that was exciting baseball. And from a business owner in the area, I'm very excited. It's certainly going to help my business. But if there's ever a series to help this club get some confidence, get some excitement, like it's one thing to win on the road. But to win in that environment, against a Mets team, your in-city rival, and have that place going bananas, that's exciting baseball. That certainly has the ability to turn things around for this club after again a really difficult month. But as expected, like you said, Sean, the Yankees are still in a good spot. They're eight games up on the Rays, 8.5 on the Blue Jays. The other two teams, whatever. But they certainly. They were really, really good for a while. Now they're back to reality. So let's see if they can turn this around. They got a tough September ahead, but let's see if they can turn it around. Moving on, they'll look around the league. The Guardians, 3 games up on the Twins, which I did not expect. I think as of last week when we recorded, Sean, the Twins were ahead of the Guardians. They're now 3 games behind the Guardians. The White Sox, 4 games back. The rest of the division, absolutely horrendous. So no concerns.
Does La Russa stick around for next year? He's kind of a laughing stock right now.
Yeah, it's not going well.
I say no.
They have
the fans are chanting fire Tony.
They have to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Have to. If they don't make the playoffs, 100% gone. AL West, Astros still in very much so control of that division. The Mariners 11.5 games back, but they are 11 games up on the Rangers, the next closest team. So, I mean, holy shit. The Athletics are 34 games back 34 games back. Holy shit!
They're not even the worst team in baseball.
No,
that
is atrocious.
Yeah, that's a long way. That's a long way.
And let's go. Well, listen, the Athletics wanted to do it. The Nationals want to one up them because they're 37.5 games back from the Mets.
Seriously, that's just a monster. This is so demoralizing. Rolling up to the park every day like that.
Oh, it's the worst. Unless you're a young guy, it's super exciting then.
Oh, and you're just loving every second of it.
You're loving every second of it. But yeah, the Mets
stomped every night.
Maybe I don't want to buy the Nationals. But the Mets, and the Braves got a dogfight as expected. They've had a dogfight now, Sean. It got to be a couple months now. They've been.
Yeah,
I know that the Mets
while.
the Mets got off to a really hot start, but the Braves came roaring back. I think it was in May or June, and they've been in a dogfight ever since.
Just two good teams. They're just two great teams here.
Two solid teams. They're going to fight for that division. And I would imagine they play each other quite a bit, or maybe not quite a bit, but at least a few times probably in September, as it's typically an in-division month.
Definitely.
The NL Central, the division no one cares about, although the division sneakily everyone cares about now because Albert Pujols chase for 700. And I tweeted about this. It would be – there are a few things in my career that are cool facts for me. I know I always talk about the Mike Trout strikeout. That still is a cool thing, even though I make fun of it all the time on social. Albert Pujols having the all-time doubles record. He hit a double off of me, so I contributed to that doubles record. That's still kind of cool for me. And it would be really freaking cool to say I faced a guy that's in the 700 home run club where there are only, I believe, he would be the fourth member. It is Barry Bonds, Hank Aaron, Babe Ruth, and then it would be Albert Pujols. It would be really cool to say that I faced a guy in the 700 home run club.
He's at 693 right now?
693, yeah. He got plunked last night, but it was obviously unintentional. But it is...
Yeah, you ain't plunking. Plunking Papa Pujols.
Papa Pujols, certainly Papa Pujols. And we'll talk about Albert later in the show a little bit on Sean's Big Finish and whether or not we believe that he will retire at the end of the year. But the Cardinals... have a 5.5 game lead over the Brewers there. The rest of the division is, just not existent in baseball. So Cardinals, hopefully they make the playoffs. It would be really cool if 700 came on a walk-off in the playoffs. That would be really sick.
We need extra games.
Yeah, we really.
He's been hot. He's been hot right now. But 7 homers is a lot.
Yeah. So hopefully I would absolutely love to see that in the home run chase. And it's exciting for baseball. He
wants it too.
Yep. And once you get, if he starts going again and we start seeing 695, 696.
They're going to put all those games on TV.
All of them. Nationally televised.
That's historic.
That's historic. So it is really cool. And then if he were to come back for another year, next year's baseball, I'd watch every Cardinals game because the chase for Babe Ruth and having a guy, anytime you overcome Babe Ruth.
What's Babe, 715?
714, I think. So every time you beat Babe Ruth in anything, Babe Ruth is the ultimate baseball guy. So it would be the chase for Babe Ruth. Again, he says he's not coming back again. We'll get to that later in the show. But what a story that would be. So the Cardinals, 5.5 games up on the Brewers in that division. I'm sure they'll play them in the month of September. The Brewers, at the very least, we know go see the Yankees. So that's gonna be a tough series. So we'll see what shakes out in the NL Central, NL West. As expected, the Dodgers, I can't believe they haven't clinched yet. The Dodgers are 18 and a half games up on the Padres. They are only 15 games away from their 100th win of the season, 85-37. They are just outstanding.
They're getting decimated.
Yeah, an outstanding ball club. The Dodgers, for whatever they've fucking done over the course of the last, let's say, 7 years, they've just figured it out for the time being. They just know what they're doing. So it is it's a foregone conclusion that they're going to be in the mix in October. So the Dodgers, we're looking right now I think probably most people would guess a Dodgers-Astros World Series, but the Yankees get hot and the Mets get hot. Things it will be fun in October regardless. A lot of good teams in baseball right now going forward. So that's your look around the league. And your look around the league is obviously brought to you by WynnBET. WynnBET is bringing the excitement of Wynn Las Vegas online sports betting and casino play. Get in all your favorite teams like West Virginia University, players in sports. I don't know any players on the West Virginia University team. What's he do? What's his name? I can't say what's his name and say I know him. Of course, on the show, I would blank on the quarterback's name. But I know Neil Brown.
Oh, great. You know the head coach.
I know the head coach. From boosted parlays to live in-game odds on every major sport, they have what you need to win. Sign up today and use promo code XSWC1. And after placing your first $100 wager, you'll receive $100 to bet with. There is also a $50 casino bonus for those in New York, New Jersey, and Michigan as a first-time player. Again, the promo code is XSWC1. Offer subject to change. Terms and conditions at WynnBET.com. Must be 21 to participate. Only available Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Louisiana, Michigan, New York, New Jersey, Tennessee, and Virginia. All right. Moving on, Sean. Moving on to our WynnBET odds segment. This show has flown by. That was a really good. Now listen, guys. If you've ever listened to our show, you know that me and Sean love to give ourselves compliments about the show. Because as we are a growing podcast, me and Sean both love doing the show. We are a growing podcast, and as we grow, we get hyped about certain things we do that we're like, wow, that was a good part of the show. Bringing up the Islanders, that was great job, Sean.
Yeah, I just randomly thought of that.
Yeah, that was Jay Spawn or whatever the hell his name was.
Spano.
He really provided some great content for us.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
It was worth your federal prison sentence.
Thank you, Jay Spano, or whatever the hell. I don't think it was Jay. I think it was John Spano. I don't know. Whatever. Regardless of that was a really good segment. But moving on to the WynnBET odds segment, we will finish this segment with our picks on West Virginia, Sean. If you could do me a favor, as you're sitting over there while I talk about the Red Sox odds that I want to talk about, can you bring up what the odds are for the West Virginia game? I want to have that for WynnBET. Do you have them ready?
I mean, I don't know. Do you mean like who's the underdog, like the points?
Yeah, for what the WynnBET spread is.
Oh, I got to see. I don't know.
Yeah,
what
we want to make sure we don't give another sportsbook spread.
We would never. I don't even. Other sportsbooks can suck it.
Yes. Anywho, so the Red Sox apparently are plus 700 to make the playoffs, and the Red Sox, if you were to put, let's say, $1,000 on them, this is what was, proposed to me by a friend of mine. If you were to put $1,000 on the Red Sox, I would make $7,000. That sounds like great odds. And a guy who's been positive about this Red Sox team, I wanted to do it. I wanted every fiber of my being to put money on this Red Sox team, and I just couldn't bring myself to it. It's just the way this team has played, and like we talked about earlier in the show, the way this team has played, it just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's not happening. It was. I mean, it's interesting. Like I still think that they have pop, but I think that the door has shut for the Red Sox this season, which is kind of surprising. But I think that the AL East is such a gauntlet. I think they just didn't put it together. They had a stretch there where like they had a shot, and they just couldn't keep it going.
No, they couldn't, Sean. You're right. They just never. They had injuries. J.D. Martinez never really got going this year. Xander Bogaerts has been on and off. His power hasn't been there this year. It just hasn't. Just like you said, it's not a team that ever put it together. They just never quite put all the pieces together, and we're seeing that now. We're seeing that when you have to put the pieces together to compete in this AL East team, this AL East division. It's just you just have to. So. I'm not advising you guys to put that money on the Red Sox to make the playoffs. I'd love to advise you. I'd love to be a part of that crew with you. I just can't do it in good faith because I just don't believe they're gonna do it. So moving on from that, because I want to talk more positively about something, because this even just talking about the Red Sox makes me sad. Yeah. So let's talk about your West Virginia Mountaineers. Let's go Mountaineers. We're talking about they're going to see Pittsburgh, and for those of you from the Carabas pod, I think I made mention of this last week. Sean is going to be your Tyler Milliken here. Sean he knows literally every fucking thing about the West Virginia Mountaineers, from what these players had for lunch that day. Oftentimes he's the one donating that lunch. So from what the players had for lunch that day to their weight room activities, he knows it all. I am, as expected, the more casual fan. However, I do love West Virginia, and if they're good, there is really nothing more exciting in the fall for me than a really good West Virginia team And as I told you, me and Sean are planning a trip down to hopefully to go see the Mountaineers. Sean is already going to Blacksburg to see the Virginia Tech game, which is Game 4 this year, right, Sean?
Yes.
So it'd be great to go 3-0. And if I'm not mistaken, Sean, correct me if I'm wrong, the first game is the toughest of the first 3.
Yeah. Pitt's ranked. Pitt's number 17.
And then we have do we have Towson?
I believe Kansas is second, then Towson, and
Towson
then,
might be tougher.
Yeah, and look, Kansas is always one of those teams where you just please God don't lose this game.
West Virginia is a big letdown school when we go play these other clubs.
And then we go, and then Virginia Tech.
Go to Blacksburg.
Number
So it'd
4.
be cool.
Yeah,
it'd be cool to go into that game 3-0.
I mean, I'm looking at their schedule too, and I think that they have a chance of being undefeated as well going into the game.
All right, so let's not get ahead of us.
They're tough. Yeah,
let's not get ahead of us. Let's talk Pittsburgh.
Okay.
We got a big matchup week 1, huge matchup. And the reason we're doing this a week early, this is not this Thursday game, but we drop the podcast every Friday, as you guys know, our very dear and loyal fans. And sorry, we're closed. You understand that we drop every Friday, and we don't want to drop our predictions post the first game because it's a Thursday night game. So we are doing the predictions here, and hopefully we do something. We should do something. I don't know if either of us have plans on that Thursday night for the game. I know you have plans of watching it. Maybe we'll go live on TikTok or something as a combo as the pod, and just watch the game. You'll see Sean. If we end up losing, you'll see Sean's mood slowly but surely get decimated. If you're watching us on YouTube right now, you see Sean's reaction. But
I hate when
Thursday night game, Sean. Give us some background on the club. Give us some background on both clubs. What are we looking at matchup-wise?
Well, here's what's interesting. I mean, Pitt is getting some hype. I'm actually surprised to see Pitt ranked. I know that they were good last year, but they lost 80% of their production. I mean, they lost their quarterback who had been there for years, Heisman finalist. They lost the best receiver in the country in Jordan Addison to USC. And they're going to have a new quarterback who is, I mean, whatever. Like, he's a transfer. I'm sure he's fine. And I've always thought that Pitt is lesser than like Notre Dame, and like Notre Dame and Penn State always get love in the polls and in the media, and that's fine. And I get that. They're legit. Pitt always seems to find their way into some love as well, although not on the same scale. And I never really understand Pitt. I think WVU has a significant amount of weapons that are extremely underrated right now. I mean, Bryce Ford-Wheaton, our receiver, NFL player. Sam James, NFL player. Entire offensive line coming back. Probably the best defensive line, if not entire defense in the Big 12. Probably not. What?
JT Daniels. Remember his name now.
JT Daniels, yeah. But I mean, that really is the big difference maker is JT Daniels. As a Mountaineer, we really don't know what we're getting. To be fair, we don't know. He hasn't even named a quarterback yet. We can't imagine a scenario where JT Daniels is not the starting quarterback. But if he comes in and he's Will Grier, we're going to stomp Pitt. If he comes in and he's Austin Kendall, our whole season is in shambles. Unfortunately, like, it really does rely that aggressively on him, because we saw the last couple years what happens when we just don't have it. But JT Daniels has Graham Harrell, who's the new offensive coordinator, who apparently doesn't run the ball, which I love.
Where did he come from?
He came from USC. He was the offensive coordinator at USC, where
Also,
he worked with JT Daniels as a freshman.
Also, for those of you who are not West Virginia fans following along, Austin Kendall was a transfer from Oklahoma.
4-star transfer from Oklahoma, who might as well have been a negative 6-star.
Yeah, we were really excited about him because he was coming from Oklahoma, and he was terrible.
Yeah, so you look at JT Daniels' pedigree. He was a starter at Georgia last season until he got injured, and he's already worked with Graham Harrell at USC, where he started as a true freshman. This is his 5th season. He's a national champion. If this guy can do anything respectable, I think we're in this game significantly, and I don't think West Virginia. I'm looking at all the reports, and all the media has West Virginia as like a bottom feeder team in college football this year. I don't think anybody realizes how good we actually can be. This is an 8-10 win team, in my opinion. Yeah, I feel good about it. It's gonna be a tough one. It's a good team, but the Mountaineers, 70 miles north. There's going to be a lot of West Virginia fans in that stadium that day. Pitt is notoriously not showing up for their games. The Mountaineers will be there.
Mountaineers will certainly be there. So matchup-wise, obviously we have a lot of unknowns here at West Virginia. Matchup-wise, do we know if this Pitt team has a great defense? Do we know if they're a offensive team, offensive-minded team? Is it going to be a low scoring? Typically in West Virginia world, we do high scoring games. Although we do now in Neil Brown's era historically have a very good defense. Mm-hmm. So what are we looking at? Are we looking at the over/under WynnBET was I think like 52.5 or something like that.
Yeah.
So they're not expecting a huge high-scoring game. However, they're kind of seemingly that they're going to expect both teams to be at least 21 plus.
Yeah. Well, I think you're going to see. The way that it seems like, and again, we don't know. Graham Harrell, we'll see. The consensus on him is that he wants to sling it and he wants to score every single time he touches the ball, which is phenomenal. I don't know why any offensive coordinator would not want to score every time he touches the ball. And Pitt last year, they were slingers. They were gunslingers. But they had Kenny Pickett, who was amazing. So you got to figure they'll be a little bit more conservative with their play call. I don't know anything about this guy's background, who their new quarterback is, other than him and JT Daniels were both teammates at USC years ago. I don't know what his experience level is. I don't know if he's transferring straight from USC or what. But I would imagine it's going to be like slightly conservative. But again, like if JT Daniels is down there, I watched, as you know, several highlights of him throwing the ball, and he's putting it on the money. Even last year when you see Jared Dagey hitting receivers, they were making pretty impressive catches because he couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. We're talking breadbasket here. We're talking breadbasket in the SEC. And now, granted, it's highlights, so you're going to see only the good ones, but we're talking breadbasket here. If he's a breadbasket quarterback, we're gonna beat Pitt. I think we beat Pitt by. I think we make a statement if JT Daniels is a breadbasket quarterback.
So let's dive into picks then, because we're pretty much there anyway. Let's dive into picks here. I think we all know who Sean's picking, and for you guys at home, Sean is the Tyler Milliken for statistics. He is the Jake of predictions. The West Virginia is going to win every game this year.
We'll see. We'll see what happens when I pick.
So West Virginia, the underdog in this game, not
7
expected
points
to win this game. However, I got to agree with you a little bit. And again, from the casual fan's perspective, good quarterback from Georgia, if he can stay healthy. He's got came from USC originally, right? So he's got his old offensive coordinator, guy he's worked with in the past. We got a Neil Brown defense, which has been historically very good for us. We have a new quarterback in Pittsburgh. I don't know anything else about their team, but that's what I know about that.
And they lost their best receiver. He was literally the best receiver in the country.
Yeah, so it's
he won the award.
New quarterback and lost the receiver?
Yes.
So you just have a team, although they're highly ranked, so I'm sure they have good other people, or good pieces around those two pieces that they ended up losing. As it stands right now, and this is what I have to do because we're not making this another podcast later. As it stands right now, I got West Virginia winning this game, going 1-0 against Pittsburgh. I don't, however, have them making a statement, and not because I don't think they're good enough to make a statement. I just don't think they're ready yet. First game of the year, typically we don't play this team, a team of this caliber early on. I think we're going to see some sloppiness, as we typically do in early season, unless you're Alabama. We're going to see some sloppiness. We got a decent enough club that's going to take advantage of some of that sloppiness. I think we're a good enough club to take advantage of some of their sloppiness, and I think that West Virginia just pulls out ahead because we have a new quarterback too, but we have a proven quarterback in high leverage games and in big time environments in JT Daniels. We have a great receiver corps. We have our O-line coming back. We have a good defense. I just think West Virginia is better suited. And I'm sure there's a Pittsburgh podcast out there right now saying that they think they're better suited based on everything. Right. But I think West Virginia, the return to the backyard brawl, I think West Virginia takes this game, but I don't think it's a statement game other than the fact that they beat a ranked team.
All right. Well, I think we got a tough one. I think that it's a tough one to open up the season with all the new pieces. Last year we did come out flat in the opener against a Maryland team that we absolutely should have beaten. This is the second consecutive year. I don't know. I think it's the second consecutive that we're opening up against a Power 5 team. It is on the road, but it's very close, and I know the Mountaineers will travel to that game. Our quarterback is better. Our receivers are better. Our offensive line is better. Our defense is better. It is going to be a primetime matchup with College game day in the building. There is absolutely no way that the Pitt Panthers go into Mountaineer Field North, because that's what it's going to be, and any other outcome will exist next Thursday, primetime, ESPN, and the outcome will be West Virginia wins outright. That's right, folks. West Virginia wins outright. That is how it's going down in Acrisure Crapola Field in Pittsburgh. That's the game. Get ready. Put all of your life savings on the Mountaineers. You will not be steered wrong.
When did you make that shirt?
Santa gave it to me.
Really?
Yeah, one of our number one fans, Carol from New Jersey. Some might refer to her as Mom.
West Virginia wins outright. All right, well, listen, that was pretty much your pick every time last year, so we totally get why this shirt has been made. West Virginia wins outright. Listen, it is what it is. They are the underdog. We heard it here first. 2 picks for West Virginia this year. Big game for the West Virginia Mountaineers, traveling to Pittsburgh, 45 minutes north, against the Pitt Panthers and the resurgence of the backyard brawl. Sean, that pick is brought to you by WynnBET, and you can take those picks. Sean said, put your life savings on the West Virginia Mountaineers. And guess what? You're going to be part of a team, because betting is a team sport at WynnBET, and you have me and Sean putting money on the West Virginia Mountaineers not this week, but next week when they play. And you can bet with the best, which is me and Sean. They've got your ticket to every single straight bet, parlay, teaser, and props wager, all right at your fingertips. The WynnBET app is easy to use, so play with the most trusted brand in the industry. Sign up today and use promo code XSWC1. And after placing your first $100 wager, you will receive $100 to bet with. There is another $50 casino bonus for those in New Jersey and Michigan. Again, the promo code is XSWC1. Offer subject to change. Terms and conditions at WynnBET.com. Must be 21 or older to participate. Only available in, you guessed it, Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Louisiana, Michigan, New York, New Jersey, Tennessee, and Virginia. Virginian. You heard it here first. Bet with us. Me and Sean both putting some money down on the West Virginia Mountaineers. We're going to make that fun. We're going to live stream that show. I've decided it right now because I know where Sean will be. I don't even have to ask for his schedule. I know where Sean will be for that game. So I'm going to put a camera on us, and we're going to live stream the West Virginia game. Join that live. You guys know, for those of you who have been a part of my lives on TikTok already, you know the type of lives that I do. They are ridiculous. I want you to smash that subscribe button, and we are going to go live for that game, at least part of the game. Probably not the entire 3-hour game, but we'll certainly go live for part of the game, and you guys can bet alongside us with the West Virginia Mountaineers taking the upset, the underdog taking the upset against the Pitt Panthers. And I would normally not advise to do that for this West Virginia club, but I have faith early on in this team. I love where this team's going. I love Neil Brown for the time being, and I'm a big fan of JT Daniels for the time being. So we will see how this all shakes out.
Literally next week, we could be like, our team is finished. JT Daniels is a disaster.
The worst guy we've ever seen. So listen.
He cannot be worse than the last few years.
No. And like I said, even if he is statistically worse than the last few years, all I wanted, when I was realistic last year, if you listened to the show last year, all I wanted was change.
Was someone else.
You could have put Stephanie Pagonis from Fox Business or Fox News out there, and I would have been fine, because at least we're trying something else.
She can sling it, let me tell you.
She's a gunslinger. Gunslinger like Brian O'Connor. Shout out Brian O'Connor. I want to put this on the show. No one's going to understand this besides us, but congratulations, Sean, on winning first place last night in Fortnite.
Oh,
congratulations to me on winning second place.
What a performance.
Congratulations to both of us, as we are the top 2 Fortnite players in the world of me, Sean, and Brian. So, moving on. Sean's big finish. I decided that we don't need a stopwatch. Or I don't need a stopwatch because I realized last show that my my recording shows the time. I can just start it when you start the big finish. So, Sean's big finish. We only have, I think, 4 topics today. To go over.
I got a couple extras.
You got a couple extras, so hopefully I'm prepared for them. And Sean's big finish, the timer starts in 4, 3, 2, 1. 2 minutes on the clock, go.
Dennis Rodman says he's going to Russia this week to help free Brittany Griner. Is there any chance that Dennis the Worm Rodman can help free Brittany Griner?
I'm going to say no. There is no chance, but, I mean, he is our best ally with North Korea, so maybe.
Okay. We're going to skip Davis Love III because I don't know what that controversy is. Albert Pujols insisted that he won't change his mind about retiring, even though he is so close to 700. If he ends the season at 699, will we see Albert Pujols back next season?
Yes. I think he comes back. It is just too big of a milestone. I don't think he does what A-Rod does. A-Rod was horrible at the end of his career, and it was probably never going to get – he might have got there if he played a couple more years in Miami, but that's it. So I say yes, he comes back.
I say no. It is just too big of a grind to go through the entire season. And if you're coming back for that reason, as soon as you hit 700, you're packing it in. And
that with Babe Ruth at 714, though.
Okay. Well, whatever. Nick Saban renegotiated his contract yesterday in Alabama because there is a clause in his contract that says anytime another college football coach bumps him out of the top 3 highest paid coaches, he can renegotiate to get himself back in. What do you think about that clause?
I love you, Nick Saban. You are my favorite person, and I am so happy that you exist on this earth. I just wish you were with West Virginia.
Yeah, that's just sensational, and he deserves every penny of the contract. He's making over $11 million per year now. Go get him, Tiger. You deserve it. Yesterday, during the Twins-Astros game, there was a scuffle on the field, and the Twins pitching coach took the opportunity to go say something to the pitcher. When he tried to make a mound visit later in the game, the umpire told him he wasn't allowed to because they recorded it during the scuffle while the benches had cleared. Should that have been ruled a mound visit?
I guess maybe by the letter of the law, yes. But a scuffle ensues. He's not able to do the mound visit. I think they should have let him do the mound visit.
I think they shouldn't have. I think that's savage by the umpire, and I love it. Georgia, 90% chance to get to the SEC title game. Alabama, 87%. That is ridiculous odds in what is known to be the best conference in college football. Why are they even playing games down there? What do you take from that?
I mean, it's been their division. I mean, it's certainly been Alabama's division for the past however many years. Georgia has been very good as of late. I mean, and maybe they have a down year every now and again, but they're still Georgia. It's unbelievable what those two teams have been able to do to clubs like Florida, LSU, and all that. While they have turmoil, these clubs continue to do good, and it's exactly why Nick Saban got that contract.
Yeah, I mean, those are jaw-dropping percentages. I can't even fathom. It's just basically saying you're basically guaranteed unless lightning strikes your whole team. That's wild. Lastly, Bryce Harper hits 2 home runs in a rehab assignment game last night for the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs, I believe. Is it taboo? Is there an unwritten rule that you can't intentionally walk rehab assignment players?
It's taboo because they're just there to get at bats. You shouldn't do it. If you're trying to win ball games at AAA, okay, but everyone knows that no one gives a shit if you win the game in AAA. So It's taboo. They shouldn't do it. They should be throwing to the guy. I could certainly, though, understand if you're playing the Mets AAA, maybe you don't throw it to him so much because you don't want him to get the at-bats because he's coming back to compete with you.
Oh, that's interesting.
Certainly could see that, but you should throw to the guy.
Yeah, I think that's probably the common courtesy. I remember in spring training, my favorite spring training and seeing a major leaguer come in the minor league camp, and he'd get walked, and they'd just turn to the umpire and be like, "No, I'm all set. I'm just going to stay here and get this AB. I loved it. And that's Sean's Big Finish, brought to you by West Virginia Pounding Pit this coming Thursday.
Yes, West Virginia sponsors that event. So, guys, thanks for joining. Love that. See you guys next week. West Virginia Mountaineers. West Virginia wins outright. You see it here on YouTube watching Sean's shirt. We'll see you here next week. Let's go Mountaineers.
Sorry, we're closed.